Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to Moscow, and welcome to a new apartment video. Got something quite interesting for you today. It's one apartment, but it's really two apartments. Let's go check it out. This is the apartment complex that we're going to go and have a look around. It's actually a little bit hard to get a wide shot because it's a series of different buildings. The one that we want to go to is this one on the right hand side, and it's actually one of the corner apartments right up there. I've actually just got here, so I'm learning about it as I go. I only need the basic information. It is listed for sale, so I will put all the information in the description. Really interesting how they've built the other buildings and how they've got one of the buildings cantilevered slightly off-centered, and then this nice park area that they built, and there's a small area with a water fountain. Now we are very close to Moscow here. This is called the Zorge region of Moscow, quite close to Avia Park shopping center, and only 12 kilometers from Red Square. So it's really a very nice brand new complex, and this apartment is absolutely brand new, and you'll get a better understanding once we walk inside. Before I go on inside, I'm just going to briefly walk around the perimeter of the building because I actually haven't been here myself. I'm not familiar with this area. I do know that the metro is very close to get here, so that's one positive thing. We will also have a special guest at the end of the video, who I think a lot of people are quite familiar with. If you're not sure who I am, I'm an Australian who lives here in the Moscow region. This is not where I live. I live about an hour from here. It's actually quite easy to get home from here on public transport. This is actually the guest parking area that I'm just walking through. I make videos about everyday life and lots of typical things. And this is a very typical Moscow apartment once we get up there. The complex itself is a series of different buildings and quite different designs for each one as well. And what's always very normal or very typical in these complexes, they have commercial businesses downstairs. So there's some cafes, some shops, and things like salons, and usually clinics. And what I am very happy to see is my very typical pitorchka right there. So I'm able to go grab myself a drink in a minute because I'm very thirsty. It's rather warm today. It started off not so nice this morning, and then now it's got very beautiful. There is this small outdoor park area here as well. They've got this rubber matting for flooring, table tennis, actually an outdoor gym, which is nice if you want to do some fitness. There isn't too many people out today because it's rather warm, and also I'm here in the middle of the day, so everybody's at work. There isn't really people just hanging around. I get asked a lot from my videos, where are all the people? Where are all the shoppers? And they're all at work. They're at school. They're not at home. There we go. One more look. Walking around the back of the building, there is another playground, which is really nice, particularly for families and kids. They can play all day long. It is actually school holidays in Russia right now. This is the middle of summer. But how nice is this play equipment? This would all have been built as part of the complex by the developers. They are responsible to completely do all of the exterior of the apartments, so all of the gardens, things like benches, bins, all of the seating areas. So it's very nice that you can just come out here and just relax and catch a bit of sunshine. We don't have a lot of it in Moscow, so you've got to take advantage. Coming around the back of the building, I just want to show you something that's quite interesting. As Patriot goes by, there is also an alcohol shop here, Krasnobyle. I've made videos inside them before, but this is quite interesting. This little tiny shop tucked around the back, this little mini mart. Now this is a temporary store that will only be here for perhaps 1 year or 2 years while all of the remodeling is going on in all of the apartments. Now this, of course, being a brand new building, there's going to be guys working in a lot of apartments at the same time, and they'll get their things delivered for the remodeling and construction. However, if you might run out of something or you need something rather quickly, they've got these little mini markets that pop up. So this is an absolutely temporary store. This is not going to be here permanently, but they've got pretty much everything you need and more somewhere in this shop. They've also got a little mezzanine upstairs there with some pipes and some things for plumbing, all of the fittings for underfloor heating and the bathroom, nuts and bolts, screws, pretty much anything you need. There's light bulbs back there. There is also different glues and Celastics, painter's tape, and then even all of the drill bits. So this shop is set up really as a temporary store or a quick fix when you don't want to have to get in the car and drive to a bigger hardware store. You can just come in and grab what you want. Now a lot of it's things that are more commonly needed when you're doing renovating. Like when we did our kitchen, I had to go to my little local shop 4 times over the course of a couple of days and grab something. But these are so handy. Now this store, once the apartment building gets to a certain level of completion, they'll pack up everything and head over to another new building and start again. They've even got toilets if you need them. Generally when they start the construction of an apartment, the first thing they want to do is get electricity, and they want to get a toilet working, and sometimes even a shower. There's a shower pan there as well. And I think this must be only in Russia you see this. So let me know if this is something unique. It's very handy when you don't want to travel half an hour or an hour away to a shop, when you can literally just come down in the elevator and grab something. As I'm walking around, I found a very interesting car parked here, and this is a Xiaomi SU7. Has anybody seen one of these before? I'm very curious. This is a very well-known electronics brand and phone company, but I don't think this is in all countries around the world. So let me know if you've seen this before. Okay, let's head on towards the entrance of the apartment. And what's really just very interesting for me is the amount of additional gardening that they do and garden renovating. I've forgotten the name of what it's called when you do this nice garden area. And even the fact they put mature trees in as well is always very nice, and just really suits the time of year. I'm sure in the evening these lights come on. There's a water feature. Now the actual apartment is in this particular building right here, and then each of the buildings has a different name, and there's a little bit of a nod to America. We want to go inside Madison, just here. One thing I forgot to mention as I started the video, there is actually underground parking under this entire complex, and then you can actually enter the buildings from where you park your car. There was a little bit of guest parking at the entrance, but the idea is to try to get as many cars off the territory as possible, and you can create more green spaces create more areas for kids to play, and you're not clogged up with cars parked everywhere. When you get home from work, you've got somewhere dedicated to park. So there is parking here, you just don't see it. Coming inside, you're going to see what that true meaning of business class is, and just how nice apartments can look here in Moscow. So this particular building is called Madison. Of course, we're in the Zorge 9 complex. Have a look at the chandelier. So there is actually a little bit of a seating area. With business class apartments, you always get 24-hour concierge, which is nice. I just noticed also the coffee shop has a side entrance. So if you want to go and have a coffee right there. A couple of things also, which you'll see in some apartments, not others. There is a downstairs storage for strollers, which is very nice. And you can leave bikes, scooters, whatever you like right here. So of course people living here already. And this is quite interesting in the back. And I want to point this out. There is a pet shower right there. So particularly in winter, it would get used. Somebody's done a lot of work to do the tiling in the pet shower. Everybody's bikes. So rather than taking it up to your own apartment, you can leave it down here. Nothing is locked up. It's not a worry. Of course, once the apartments are all fully occupied, these would all be locked and would need the key to get in, or the pass key. And then to go to the apartments, so you would actually have a pass that you'd need to tap here as the owner. If you're coming here as a visitor, you can call up to the apartment. And then there is a little bit of work going on, so you'll always hear quite a bit of noise, especially when you first come to new buildings. There is a downstairs bathroom as well. It's actually locked right now, but you could use the downstairs bathroom. It's always nice if you're coming back from somewhere, or if you're just out in the park having a walk around. And then we've got the elevators, so we need to head on up and get one step closer to the apartment. Coming out of the elevator on the 10th floor. Now the apartments are broken up into zones, and being that this is a business class apartment building, you've got different levels of security, I guess you can call it. So of course, if you were a resident here, you would have a card or a pass to basically tap on the door to let you in. But being that we're a visitor, we have to press the button right there, and then magically the door opens. Now of course, if you're coming to visit friends, they would open the door for you or let you know the code. And then this is the corridor that we need to go down. Now the fact that this is a brand new building, there's still lots of apartments being remodeled and finished. They have taken up the flooring here though. They've still got the ceiling space open, which they would close once they get to a certain percentage of apartments finished. But generally this is open so that the builders can access the panels and pipes and things like that. So where we want to go is down the end of the corridor here. And then we've got quite a fair bit to take in once we head on inside. Coming down the corridor to the apartments. Now this is rather interesting, as I pointed out at the start of the video. So there is actually two separate apartments that we're going to walk in, and they're on the corner of the building, quite literally. So 121 right here. So like I pointed out, this is a unfinished apartment. Now there is different words for this. Some people call it black box apartments. Some people call it just a concrete finish. And what's actually happened, somebody has even put some markings on the floor of a suggested layout. But have a look at the windows, and then have a look at the view across this part of Moscow. Now, of course, the windows aren't particularly clean, but that's okay. You can actually see the CSKA Stadium right there. This is the area where Aviapark is. So what's very interesting is the possibilities for this apartment. Now, it's been sold as a complete lot, so you're actually buying both apartments at the same time. So you could remodel them and develop them as two separate apartments. That would be completely up to you. Now, what the suggestion is these walls right here. So you can see the different colored bricks, and these are non-structural. So there's one right here, and ideally this one right here could be removed, and you could make it one big apartment and one nice family apartment. And then this would be a very large open plan living area on this side right here. The actual kitchen would be somewhere over here, and then there'd be a guest bathroom or a toilet in this entrance on this side. So there isn't actually physical balconies, but what they do have is what they call Juliet balconies. So there's actually a glass panel just here, halfway up the window. And have a look at the view again. Now, of course, Moscow has different views from every window that you look out. You can't always have the beautiful view from every window. But certainly, just looking out along the skyline on this side, very nice. So part of buying this style of apartment, you're getting it absolutely bare bones, where you can fit it out exactly how you like. You would bring a builder in here who would make a plan, would do everything, what they call turnkey. If you have watched other videos, Yuri, who I've done videos with, this is something that would be absolutely right up his alley. The buyer of this sort of place would approach him. He'd come back with a plan, a price, and do all the working out. This is actually the air conditioning unit right here, and actually this would be the heating at the same time. You can see the blue and red pipes. They always put them over the windows. And then actually the floor would be raised up slightly from what it is now. Unfortunately, being that it's a new building, it's going to be echoey for now. And then also, you're going to hear other apartments getting worked on. All of the services come into the apartment right here. So there is actually already the temporary power hooked up. And then the ventilation and the internet and different things like that. Also the fire system is already put onto the ceiling. You can see these wires and red circles right here. This over here is where the stack is for the plumbing and for the waste pipes. And coming across to the other side, this is a little bit smaller, but that same open plan and open style. So somebody has actually at some point put these markings on the floor just to depict what the layout could be or what the suggestion would be. Things like the beds and wardrobes and the closets. And again, this middle wall here is not load bearing for the building. This one can't be moved, but this one that's been bricked up could be moved or could be removed, if that makes sense. But what they were suggesting was to remove this wall on this corner right here, then it would just wrap around to the two apartments. So all of the windows, the floor to ceiling windows as well, also very high ceilings. These are 3-meter ceilings as well. You can see some of the other buildings off in the distance. And Absolutely a clean slate. So you can do what you like. This is quite typically how a lot of people buy apartments off plan. So whoever was the original buyer of this place would have bought this before even the building was in the construction phase. And there would have been nothing here more, barring some earthworks. But you're generally buying the location of the apartment, so this corner one particularly, and then the potential of what you can do with it. Not too sure how they managed to do their footprints when the concrete was poured. But you would put a floor base down and you would actually level the floors up a good, maybe, I'm going to say 10 or so centimeters up to the door frame finish, and then where you'd put things like underfloor heating in and different things like that. So again, this is all replicated from the opposite side, and then this is where the bathrooms would be. If you were to do a second bathroom, the actual waste pipe can run underneath the floor to perhaps over here where you might put a second bathroom. The way it's intended for the plan is to have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and then a third powder room. So what do you think of this apartment, or the size of it? It is huge. If you were to combine the two together, this one alone is bigger than my place, let alone the second one. And then all of the same workings on the opposite side. So I'm joined here for this apartment tour with Irina. Now, I think most people know you already, but would you like to just give a brief explanation about who you are?
I'm real estate agent and the owner of real estate agency. I have 15 years experience in real estate sphere, and each question when you have, I can answer.
Now, of course, we just went to see this
New listing,
yeah, unfinished. Well, no finishing.
Not finishing, not started. It's ready to your idea. You can make all renovation what you want because it's empty.
Right. So basically, this is a brand new complex.
Yes.
Absolutely brand new. We can hear some renovating going on right now. We have to just deal with that. The noise and the drilling. Eventually, when you're working on yours,
yes,
you're not so apologetic to the neighbors. But
it's time. It's normal in new apartment for 5 years.
Yeah.
Time for renovation. Everybody do it. It's
right.
Okay.
So basically, the 2 apartments that we just saw could be either individually developed as 2 properties.
Yes.
And what I talked about, and which you explained to me, you could take down that common wall and make it into one
big
open plan apartment.
Yes, so 146 square meters.
Yes.
For 2 people.
Yeah.
With 2 bedrooms and one big area for lounge, nearby 50 square meters.
So almost that one right-hand apartment where I first walked in would be the lounge room. What?
It's same dog. It's same dog with 11.
Yeah, so we just heard the dog in the apartment
It's
as
our
well.
neighbor.
Oh, okay. So now, of course, this is listed for sale.
Yeah.
And this is Moscow. So you'd get Moscow registration.
It's not just Moscow. It's place in 10 minutes by car from Patriarchy Ponds.
Yes, the famous Patricky Ponds.
Yes, Patricky Ponds.
This is the famous place where everybody goes to walking, cafes.
Restaurants, a lot of beautiful Russian girls, and a lot
more Irinas.
Irina, only one in this world. There are a lot of amazing luxurious car.
Yes.
Lamborghini and Mustang and Porsche, everything.
Now, where we're located here, this is quite central to Moscow as well.
It's quite center.
Red Square, I worked out
12 kilometers from here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, metro station Zorge, which is the Metro Central Circle train. So you can get yourself around Moscow very easily. And then the very famous Avia Park,
Yes.
which we could almost see out the window.
Yeah.
I think that would be probably 5 or 10 minutes by car.
Yes. Yes.
think-
Or you can walk 30
Yeah.
minutes through a lot of parks here.
Yeah, right, very green. But Moscow is green everywhere you go.
Yes. Yes.
And even the building, of course, these are high-rise apartments, but lots of nice places to sit, relax, and
Yes.
enjoy the fresh air
All around the year, because
all year round, right? So I want to thank Irina for giving me this chance to see this kind of opportunity of an apartment and the potential to either have it as 2 or 1 very big apartment. Now, actually, the changes would require some paperwork changes, but
Yeah.
it's completely fine and easy to do. And I think, of
we
course,
can do it. We can do it
with the help of an architect and a builder,
Yes.
no worries at all. So your information will be in the description,
Oh, of course.
and you
If
have
you buy
Instagram,
WhatsApp,
WhatsApp.
email,
Yeah.
maybe.
So yeah, if you're
What you
interested
want.
with this or somewhere else. Now after this, I'm going to talk about the price with you and of course the information about this apartment. So thank you, Irina.
Thank you, Russ.
Today I don't have the tripod, so it's a little bit hard to film this part, but hopefully we'll see you in another video soon. Bye. Let's go through the information about the apartment because it's very interesting and of course a lot to take in from the tour. I want to say thank you to Irina for meeting me at the apartment and taking me for a walk around. There is also another lady that was with us. I think she might have briefly been on the video, and it's listed via Irina's real estate agency. So anything you want to know about the apartment, you can contact her. The information about the basics of the apartment are right here. Irina's got a website. Also through Instagram, you can contact her and she can let you know more about it, particularly things like the details of the fact it's 2 apartments and if you wanted to make it into 1 apartment. Now, the actual apartment itself, as you can see, was completely bare bones. And this is quite common how you can buy apartments in Russia, no matter where you are in the entire country. In the town where I am, when they build new apartments, they're exactly like that. There's a few different words they like to call it: black box, gray box. You can also buy apartments that are white box finish, and it's really interesting. And of course, by buying it in that unfinished condition, you can do whatever you like, and there is basically very little rules you've got to follow about the construction of the apartment. Of course, there's a lot of things to take into account about the actual building itself, but all of the services are right there. You saw them above the door, and everything is ready to go. You just need to bring in a designer, an architect, a builder, and someone can do that. Now, of course, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know that Yuri is a property developer. He would be the ultimate person to contact about something like that place. You would bring him in, he would work out a design for you, and then let you know what the price is. What he tends to do with his business, it's a full turnkey service. That sort of place that I walked around isn't something that a home handyman would take on unless they're very skilled. And having someone do it as a full turnkey remodeling, you give the keys, he then gives them back to you in however months later, and you just move right in. With Yuri's services, he even can do the full interior decoration as well, so right down to furniture. It really is up to you how you end up finishing it. Now, of course, it was 2 apartments. You can see right here, 2 separate apartments. So it is actually sold as 1 property. However, it is 2 physical apartments. And you'd actually get the documents for 2 apartments. The person who is actually selling it, the owner, bought those 2 apartments for the intention of at one point taking down those middle walls and making it a very nice large family apartment. And there is actually on the property listing, there is a plan already that was put in place that you could easily follow, which would have been 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and a huge lounge room, dining room, open plan kitchen. And actually when I saw that, I was like, wow. And especially the fact it wraps around that whole side of the building and the amount of windows you've got, those Juliet balcony doors that you could open to let all the air in and all the light that comes in. So the two different apartments, the one on the right that I walked in first was 83 square meters. And then the one on the left was 64 square meters. I've got everything written down here, so I make sure I remember it. So combined 147 square meters. That is a very big apartment. Now, if I compare it to the ones that I've lived in here in Russia in all the years that my wife and I have lived in different places, that's very big. Now, also, of course, it's a brand new complex, absolutely brand new. There isn't a lot of people living there. There is a lot of ongoing renovations you could hear from other apartments, but all of the infrastructure around it is complete. The commercial business on the downstairs area there, we're starting to fill out. So cafes, restaurants, shops, supermarket, everything that you possibly want that you don't have to go that far to live there. Of course, there was play areas, gardens. There is underground parking if you wanted to take advantage of that. And then also there isn't even an underground storage room if you don't want to put things in your apartment. Some people like to put things like bikes and things like that in a storage room. That's actually in the parking area on the lower ground floor. I didn't show that in the video, but you drive into the complex and around the back and then go downstairs, and then the actual elevators can take you straight up to your apartment as well. Now, the metro, depending on which one you choose to walk to, it's around about 10 or 15 minutes away. Now, I actually left Irina there and I made my way home because it's quite close to the area where I live in Moscow. So it's quite easy for me to get the metro home. And the nearest station was Zorge, and that's actually the Moscow Central Circle train, which is quite an interesting train that you can ride around the whole of Moscow on. And, or they call it the Moscow Central, Moscow Central Circle. There's the Moscow Central Diameter as well, not to confuse you if you don't live in Moscow. The actual location of it physically is 12 kilometers to Red Square. And I just read a comment on a past video, which is quite interesting. They said that they lived in Rome, in Italy, but they never visited the Vatican unless they go there with friends, which is the same with me. You know, if somebody's visiting Moscow and they want to meet up and go for a walk around somewhere, I generally go to Red Square and all the areas immediately in the center of the city. But on a day-to-day basis, I stay in the town where I live. Literally, I've got everything I need for life downstairs from the building or within 10 minutes walk of my house. So if you do want to drive to Red Square, you could. And of course, everything's very accessible via the metro. There is also some buses there as well if you wanted to catch public transport. Most people would walk to the metro stations and then travel on from there. Now the price, get ready for this, I hope you're sitting down, 75 million rubles. Now, that might sound like a lot, which to me, in my head, it's a lot. It's definitely more than I've ever spent on a property by quite a large amount. However, when you think about it as one large apartment, it makes sense, the price. The fact it's reasonably close to a Moscow center and to main roads, shopping centers, public transport, parks. You can even go over to Avia Park, the big shopping center there. There is a beautiful park you can walk in as well. It's very well located in a very nice complex as well. So the breakdown, of course, in the different currencies, 945,000 US dollars, 805,000 euros, 704,000 British pounds. And then the numbers get a little bit larger now, 1.29 million Canadian dollars, and Australian currency, $1.44 million. I need to take a breath for a minute. Now, important to remember, this is 2 apartments. You could absolutely completely remodel them as 2 apartments. You could then go on and sell them after you remodel them. You could go on and rent them out for very nice money as well. Of course, the cost to remodel will vary on the quality of the finishes. Talking to Yuri about this sort of thing, he can even quote you different quality of finishes, whether you want it in a luxury finish, business class finish like the apartment was. Remember also that was a business class apartment as well, 24-hour concierge downstairs. It's pretty much security controlled entrances to get into the complex. Even on the floor where you live, you've got to tap a card or put in a PIN code to get to your actual door from coming out of the elevator. And that's very normal in Russia. Of course, with newer apartments, they like to up the ante a little with the finishings because they want to give you, back what you're paying for that kind of apartment and that kind of quality of finish. And, the lady there at the concierge 24 hours a day as well. So my question really is, what would you do? Would you remodel it as 2 apartments, maybe live in one, rent out the other one? Or would you take down those middle walls? Like I was pointing out, there is 2 non-structural walls that could be removed and then have a very large, almost penthouse style apartment with the fact that it wraps around both parts of the building. You could actually then close out one of the doors and just have one main entrance. Another option would be to build a smaller, perhaps 1-room studio, maybe for a teenager or a university age student that might be a family member. They could have it as their own little flat. Then the rest of the apartment then could be then for the parents and family and so forth. So a lot of things to take in and to consider when you're buying that kind of a place. And just very interesting to see an apartment like that. I wasn't actually expecting to see 2 apartments at the same time. Irina was telling me the basics when we were turning up, and I was thinking, what are you talking about? The price. And then when I walked in and saw how big it is, it's really, very interesting as an idea. I'm trying to get the camera in the right spot for the ending of the video. Yeah, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know what you think. Of course, if I was to consider an apartment in Australia, in Perth, or maybe in Sydney or Melbourne, you'd be in that kind of price range for apartments. Of course, the way they finish them here is very different to a lot of countries in the fact that you've got that grey box finish versus buying an apartment that's already plastered, ceilings, doors, kitchens and bathrooms are done. In Russia, it's very common and an option for you to buy cheaper properties without finishing, and then it's up to you then to do it. You can do that on every level and every quality of apartment in new build finishes here in Russia. And we actually contemplated that before we ended up buying our place, about thinking about buying somewhere that was unfinished. But my wife and I figured we'd almost probably divorce by the time we'd finish the remodeling, with all the arguing and decision making we'd have to do, and picking the finishes, and where would the plugs go, where would the switches go, where would which direction would the bed face. So it's a lot to take in, and that's why it may not be for everybody. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. 1 apartment or 2 apartments? What would you do? Now, if you want to follow me on Telegram, right here is the link, or it should be right here. I post lots of stuff all the time. Then over here is another video for you to watch. I'll put a video from Moscow City that I went to see a luxury apartment. It might be interesting just to have a look at that. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.